Good morning. Happy Monday, everyone. Just making sure everything is live and working. I'm excited to be here with you this morning because I've got a topic that you're going to want to learn. If you don't already know about it, you're going to want to know about it because this is going to make 2026 so much easier for you. I promise. If you stick with it, you're going to be really happy you did. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about space for a second, so hang in there with me. I watch a lot of space shows. I like to watch shows like How the Universe Works. And the thing that I've learned over the years of watching these space shows is that the larger the mass, planet, whatever it is, the more gravitational pull it has. Okay. And what we are doing as business owners is we need to create that sense of gravitational pull into our businesses. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is engineering gravity, the way to attract people to your business versus you having to go on the hunt for your next client every single time and having to start from scratch every single time. So today we're going to talk about attraction marketing and not the fluffy version, because there is a couple different versions of this. We're not just talking about show up and be authentic. That's great. And yes, that's valid. And yes, you do want to show up and be authentic. However, I want to be really clear. Today, we're talking about the difference between cold selling and having people walk into your world ready to buy what you offer. They are very different worlds. So let's get in it. So the strategic shift from chasing business to engineering gravity is huge. And I remember for myself when it happened, I spent the first 3 months of my business doing every single networking thing I could possibly be involved in. Granted, it was also COVID, so everything was virtual, but I knew that the only way for me to tell people about my business would be for me to literally tell them. I didn't have a big advertising budget. I had just started. I did not have the authority to command people to me yet. I was new, completely new. But when I started getting really strategic about how I move in the marketplace, how I present my business, how I presented myself, I started to see a major shift in what was coming in my direction and the quality of what was coming in my direction. Because let's be honest, cold selling is exhausting. It is exhausting from cold direct messaging on social to cold emails to cold calls to cold energy. It is exhausting when you feel like every time you talk about your business, you are interrupting someone's life, trying to prove your value, and then every conversation starts with zero trust. That's exhausting. That is exhausting. And I can tell you that you can have a way better sales experience than the exhaustion of rejection after rejection after rejection until you find that one person who may or may not be a good fit. And then you invest that time into that person and hope that they close. So when you're in the mindset of you feel like you're interrupting people, you're constantly proving yourself in every conversation, starting from that place of zero trust. When your revenue depends on cold outreach, you live in a survival mode and you're only as secure as your pitch. So if your messaging isn't clear and you're living in survival mode, your battle to have a business is going to be very strained. And it's not scalable, it's reactive. And we've been talking about reactive marketing all year long. So if you've been following along, I highly recommend watching all of our Marketing Mondays starting at the beginning of the year because reactive marketing is done. We are not doing reactive marketing. We are doing proactive marketing. And in this case, we're talking about attraction marketing because attraction marketing flips the entire dynamic for your business. And instead of asking, how do I convince them to work with me? You start asking, how do I position myself so clearly that the right people start leaning towards me and coming my way? It's positioning, not persuasion. Say that with me. Positioning, not persuading. Now, attraction marketing is not passive. It is engineered, meaning it's a discipline, it's positioning. You have to actively participate in the act of marketing in order to have attraction marketing work in your way, in your favor. So it's the discipline of positioning yourself so clearly and so consistently that your ideal client self-identifies before you ever have to sell. So I want to break down this process because it's a big one. There are three foundational truths behind attraction marketing. The first one is people buy from people they trust, period. So if you have a trust factor that's not there, you need to start there. Trust comes from building integrity into what you do on a day-to-day basis. Trust comes from showing up consistently. Trust comes from showing up consistently and delivering consistently. Trust comes from being transparent and honest and open about your capability versus your capacity. And trust comes from being a resource in your industry. So people buy from people they trust. That's the first thing. The second thing is trust is built through repeated exposure to aligned ideas. So what that means is they hear it over and over and over again, but it's not just that they hear it over and over and over again and it's not relevant. It's they hear it on repeat and it's relevant. And by that 8th to 16th time that they hear it, which is about where the market leans right now for repetition and conversation before sales conversion, when you get to that place, you start to get to a place where they feel like they can trust you, that the trust is built through seeing you over and over again. It is something that they need. You solve a problem for them, and that authority is going to reduce the sales friction. So if somebody already trusts you, the sales conversation feels natural. Have you ever noticed that? Like you're not actually like having a sales conversation, you're just having a conversation that naturally flows into, hey, I know that you mentioned that you have a problem in this area. I would love to help with that. That's something I can help you with. That's a very natural flow. If they don't, it feels like persuasion. And persuasion is exhausting. When you have to try to convince other people of your value, that's backwards. Like totally backwards. It's exhausting, it's backwards, and it doesn't lead to a positive experience between you and the person on the receiving end of that sales tactic. Attraction marketing is designed to reduce persuasion. So let's talk about why cold selling feels so hard for most service-based business owners, because it does. You have no brand validity of any kind that stands out, and you're a small startup or a small company, and people don't know who you are. It doesn't mean that you're not worth working with at all. What it means is you need to focus on positioning your business. Yeah, you need to focus on your positioning. So if there's no perceived authority, no context, and you're asking for a commitment without foundation, then you're in a cold situation. So cold reach outs or outreach works when the problem is urgent. For example, like if you're in a repair industry and there's a big storm, right? You can capitalize on that, people's roofs leaking, that kind of stuff. Um, but cold outreach works when the problem is urgent, but it doesn't work as well when the problem isn't urgent. If you have a luxury business, for example, it's you're having to convince yourself. But it does work in it works when someone is actively searching. It works when someone has an urgent problem, and it works when someone um is in a transactional industry. But for service-based CEOs, especially in relationship-driven businesses, cold selling creates unstable revenue because it becomes feast or famine, right? It's all about who you can convince versus having like an actual strategy around it. Now, if you're constantly chasing, you're constantly initiating, and you're constantly explaining yourselves, that's not leadership, it's a hustle. right? We talked about this. We talked about putting on your CEO hat and really being the CEO of your business, growing and scaling your business, being the visionary for it, not so much of chasing business. We want you to be the CEO of your business, which means you've got to walk in your leadership. Attraction marketing is leadership. And I think it's almost like a muscle. You've got to practice it. And it's not something that just happens the moment you start it. It's something that happens over a little bit of time. It says, I'm going to define who I serve. It's being in control of your business. It's allowing your business to design the client base it serves. And it says, I'm going to define who I serve. I'm going to clarify my message. I'm going to repeat my point of view until the right people recognize themselves in it. Now, here's the first framework for this. It's clarity, consistency, proof, then invitation. Clarity, consistency, proof, invitation. So let's walk through it. Clarity, if your audience cannot repeat what you do in one breath, check out our last video, our last Monday video, then you are not magnetic. Okay. You are confusing. I know, I'm sorry. I should have held your hand for that one. You're probably confusing. Let me be less direct. You're probably confusing your market. Okay. If you can't say what you do clearly, concisely in a single breath, most likely your confusion is their confusion, if not greater. So clarity means you know who you are, what problem you solve, what transformation you create, and what you are not. Just let you catch up with that one. What you are not is just as important as what you are. So the last one matters because what you are not helps give you guardrails to who you do not serve and the problem you do not solve, right? It keeps you from just saying yes to anything that comes your way, even if it's out of scope for what you're trying to build your business around. The last one matters because attraction requires exclusion. Okay, attraction requires exclusion. Now, if you're trying to speak to everyone, no one feels seen. And I see this all the time. This is a huge mistake that people make. You may very well be for everyone. That is a possibility. For example, industries that are for everyone include grocery stores, hospitals. I ran out of options. So that's what I came up with. Maybe you've got more. There's just not a lot of industries that quite literally are for everyone. There just aren't. Most of them have to have a very specific audience, and that's okay. We got to find that audience. And if you're trying to speak to everyone and no one feels seen, the next step from clarity is consistency. Consistency is attraction built through repetition. Consistency is the thing that allows people to build that trust with you over a period of time because they then see you as someone who shows up and shows up and stays consistent. There's no better way to put it. Consistency just really matters. And attraction is not just built through repetition, not like random tips, not scattered content, not whatever you felt like posting at the moment. Repetition of core ideas is what consistency is. It's about having a strategy through repetition, and you need almost like a thesis, if you will. So you need, like, think of it like this. Most people think X. In reality, Y is true. So here's a smarter way, right? Think of it like in a framework. This is how you get to the place of consistency. Most people think X, in reality, Y, here's the smarter way. Keeping it simple, clear, concise. That belief needs to show up over and over and over and over and over again in your messaging because you're debunking a belief system, clarifying what it really represents, and then saying that you are going to guide them through that transformation. So it matters because familiarity builds trust, and trust builds authority, and authority builds demand. So then we move into proof. Proof is very important. There, this is where most people drop the ball, I think, because they don't pursue proof for their businesses, meaning you can't just be insightful. You have to be credible. Proof is like case studies, storytelling, before and after transformations. It could be client language, it could be results, process, metrics, analytics, like proof, it could be testimonials, reviews, all of that. Proof moves someone from that's interesting to that works. And that's a big difference. We want that. That's interesting is good. We've got interest. That works. Oh, we've got a warm lead. We have someone who is genuinely interested in what we're doing. And then that moves us into invitation. Attraction marketing does not mean hiding your offer. It means that you're inviting someone to participate in the solution that you bring to the table or the transformation that you bring to the table instead of pushing them into it, instead of persuading them into it. You're inviting them to sit at the table with you to the bigger conversation. When someone has clarity, consistency, and proof in front of them, the invitation will feel very natural. Now, I want to introduce a second framework. We've got a few more minutes, so I want to introduce a second framework. I'm going to take a sip. Right. The authority ladder. You may have heard of this before. The authority ladder is an excellent framework. It's where you go from cold to aware to engaged to trusting to ready. Try it again. Cold, aware, engaged, trusting, ready. So cold means they don't know you, right? Never heard of you. That's cold. Period. It's not deeper than that. It's just they don't know who you are. Then aware means they recognize the problem. Ah, there's some alignment there. And then engaged means they voluntarily consume your content. They choose you. See that attraction piece? Trusting means that they start repeating your language back to you. This is where you go from having like people who want to buy from you to raving fans. When they trust you and they repeat the language back to you, they can speak in your brand's voice. That's a big deal. And as an example, in case you're like, well, that doesn't ever happen. If I did this, listen to this. Tell me what this is from. What brand is this? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. You don't have to eat McDonald's to know what that brand represents, right? That tune is written by Justin Timberlake for McDonald's Corporation, and McDonald's owns it. And it is their little sound bite or whatever for McDonald's now, and it has been for a long time. Having some kind of thing that people can connect with in your brand to make it sticky is a part of the job of bringing clarity to the messaging and bringing your products and services to the public. So engage means they voluntarily decide to consume your content. Trust means that they start repeating your language, and ready means they inquire about inquire about your business without being chased. Man, those have been my favorite client conversations is when they go, I heard you did this and I want to work with you. 10 out of 10. I want that person. Just so much easier than me having to say I'm great. And I'm sure you've been there, right? Like you're good at your craft. You know what you're doing. You wouldn't have a business if you didn't know what you were doing, right? So your job is not to close strangers. Your job is to move people through your offer ladder, right? And you do that with strategic content. Again, not just posting when you feel like it, not just creating stuff because it sounded good in the moment. It's strategic content development. Now, let's talk about the shift from cold selling to attraction marketing in like practical step-by-step terms. Step one, stop talking to everyone. That's the first step. So if you're talking to everybody, stop it. It's not serving your business. So stop talking to everyone. Define your ideal customer avatar like a scientist would. Okay. I'm not just talking about demographics. I'm not just saying age, gender, zip code. I want to know psychographics, demographics, geographics, financial information, gender, age ranges, shopping behaviors, buying power. I want to know, and you should want to know who your ideal customer avatar is down to the most granular decision that they make. Because the more you know this person, the better you understand this person, the easier it is to attract them into your business. So, what are they tired of trying? What are they afraid to admit? What frustrates them privately? And what do they secretly want to do or want, but don't say it publicly? You have got to know not just the surface level, but the drive behind their decisions. Attraction happens when someone can say, it feels like you're in my head. I've had that. Have you had that? Talk to me. Leave me a comment. Let me know. Now, let's say the person says, she's in my head. This is what we call positioning. It's like you've got the thing, the stickiness of their brand is in your head. Another one that makes me laugh all the time is once you pop at Pringles, right? Like your brand, some things are just sticky, right? And I'm using bigger brands as the example. It's not going to look the same for you as a smaller brand, but like what you're trying to come up with is something that's sticky that positions you. Now, step two is build a signature narrative. So cold sellers pitch services, attraction marketers, they're going to repeat a thesis. Okay, we think like scientists. We don't think like salespeople. We think like scientists. So what do you believe about your industry that most people get wrong? What do you see that others don't? And what do you refuse to participate in? See, when you repeat your thesis consistently, you become known for something. And being known for something is more powerful than being liked by everyone. It just is, good or bad. Let's be honest. Be mindful. And being known for something is more powerful than being liked because you're creating a legacy for yourself. Now, step three is systematize visibility. Attraction is not an accidental process. It's something that you create with a rhythm. You teach, you show proof, you share perspective, you invite. 3 strong posts a week with clarity will outperform daily scattered posting 10 out of 10 every time. I promise. So come up with a rhythm. What are your pillars? What are you talking about this year or this quarter or this month? Come up with a rhythm. And then remember that consistency is always going to outweigh intensity or volume. You don't have to do more to be successful. You need to do the right things, like more of the right things to be successful. So if you're feeling like you're nailing it, you're like, well, I got steps 1, 2, and 3. Here's the fourth one. Optimize positioning before increasing effort. So if sales for your business is feeling hard, don't default to, I need more leads. More leads just means more hard conversations. That's just the truth. So if you're into more hard conversations, go for it. But if you're not into more hard conversations, we're not asking for more leads. We're asking for clarity. Is my messaging sharp? Is it crystal clear? Can people repeat it back to me? Is my audience defined? Is my proof visible? Is my offer simple? Offer Offers that are complicated detract buying power. Often, I think the issue for a lot of businesses is not, in fact, the traffic problem. I think it's the clarity problem. And here's the truth I want to land with this with is that if you have to convince someone you're the right fit, they're probably not. And I mean that in the most genuinely loving way. Think about this throughout your entire life. If you have to talk someone into loving you, what? They're not your people. If you have to talk somebody into buying from you, they probably weren't ready to buy. They're probably not your people. If you have to talk someone into being a part of whatever it is that you offer, they're most likely just not ready for you, or they're not your people. Cold, it's really important to remember that if they're not your people, that's okay. They're not rejecting you as a business owner. They're rejecting who they have to be in order to work with you. So remember that. That's a very important piece, especially if you deal with rejection sensitivity, which is inevitable in sales, right? It just is. Attraction marketing isn't about becoming famous, and I want to make sure I clarify that. It's about becoming obvious to the right people. So when someone sees your content and thinks that's my kind of people, right? That you've skipped persuasion, you're already aligned. Alignment is way, way more powerful than urgency. And urgency has been a sales tactic for decades. Oh, get it now before it runs out. Okay. That's fine. But alignment, way better for positioning, way better for long-term return on investment, way better for closing odds. Having alignment is way more important than creating a sense of urgency. And remember this too, cold sales is very linear. It is very linear. It's like outreach, pitch, close, follow up. Outreach, pitch, close, follow up. Attraction marketing is compounded interest. It's clarity over time. It's the repetition, it's the resonance, the trust, and the inquiry. And it feels slower at the start, but over time it compounds. And the CEOs build compounding systems because that's what helps them scale, right? So if you're needing to recalibrate your business, stop chasing visibility and start engineering gravity for your business. Stop trying to convince the wrong person to work with you and start clarifying who you are, who you serve, what that transformation is that you bring people through. Get abundantly clear, because that clarity is going to allow people to choose you instead of you having to chase them. Stop talking to everyone. Start speaking directly to someone. Figure out who that someone is. Attraction marketing is not luck. And I know for some people, you might see it and go, man, they're just really lucky. They have a really great personality. People just naturally like them. I'm telling you from experience that attraction marketing is not luck. It is positioning. It is positioning. And positioning is a leadership decision for your business. You build that and selling gets a lot lighter because you stop begging for work and you start inviting people to come sit with you. And that builds a long-term scalable business, one where people refer you, celebrate you. It allows you to have a business where you're not having to work harder, but you're becoming someone who works obviously strategically. And that's the long game. That's what we want for you. We want you to have a positive experience inside of your business where you get so clear on what you're doing that you can finally see what's next, because these people come to you and you're allowed to serve them and invite them into it. And you stop having to go, did I do enough to earn business today? So going from cold selling to client demand, we're talking the difference between persuasion and positioning. Now, before we hop off here, if you have not had a chance to check out what we have going on here at the CEO Sisterhood, I want to let you know we've got a few things coming up, including I'm doing a webinar series right now to help provide that clarity that you might need. So if you are finding yourself stuck in your business, sales are not coming naturally, you're talking to people and it's like slam door after slam door kind of feeling, you might want to join my webinar. It is completely free. And I will put the link for it in the chat or in the comments here in just a second when I hop off. And then also, if you want to actively work on your messaging, I have a 8-week marketing accelerator class coming up that starts in the middle of March. So if you want more information, please comment below, let us know, and we'll get you that information. But we have lots going on in the next month or so. So definitely join us for Coffee Connections Educational Workshop. We have our um, educational workshop and our Let's Talk Business Luncheon on March 18th. So if you're not involved and you want to know more about the sisterhood, I highly recommend you talking with any of us in the sisterhood. We are here to care for you and see your business through to success, help you put those systems and foundations in place so that you can move seamlessly through this year. So anyway, hang out with us, join us anytime. We'd love to have you as part of our sisterhood. I'll drop some links in the chat for registration if you guys would like to get clear and join me on that webinar. I'd love to have you. We will see you on Wednesday. Bye. Thanks for hanging.